Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and more Birthright. So today we got another video in sort of the further reaches of the lost territories here. So in that today would be the Icemarch, which again is going to be not truly a realm, just a territory that isn't necessarily really inhabited, but just has all kinds of crazy monsters and other things going on, and really, again, an area for mid to high level characters, and definitely presents some of the top tier dangers that aren't in the form of like existing on-chain so much and stuff like that. So, and got some awesome artwork there too, because yeah, dealing with Remoraz is definitely one of the very real risks out there. But let's jump in. So, well named by the rare trappers, hunters, and adventurers who have traveled the northernmost land of Vosgard, frost and snow cover the Icemarch year-round. The Klesberg Glacier, which begins in northern Drakenward, encroaches on the Icemarch across its northern coast. Even the southern provinces of the Icemarch, covered by the pines of the Grobnikvek forest, never really escape the Voss winter. And again, we'll take a quick peek at the map as well to show you guys what that really looks like. So again, we're covering a couple different territories here. We've already covered Tuar Anwin, but because that's an actual realm, but the Battle Fens, recent video, the Icemarch, and then eventually the Mistmoor as well. But you can kind of see what they're talking about here. So over here is the Breck territory still, and then Icemarch is obviously far north here for the boss. But let's jump back. So it's inspired many legends and holds many secrets as well. Few civilized explorers have dared crossing its paths more than once, but basically everyone who survives even one trek manage to inspire any who listen with tales of frozen cities, ice giants, and ferocious goblinkin and winter beasts of the worst description. None know the truth of such tales, but more than a few adventurers have disappeared trying to prove the legends right or wrong. Common belief is that long ago, bands of outlawed Voss roamed the Icemarch in search of food, shelter, and foolish prey. These frozen tribes became known as the Zegraki, or manhunters, because they would hunt each other when game grew scarce. Scouts and hunters who venture occasionally into the Icemarch swear the Zegraki survive today, but barely resemble even the most barbaric Voss forebears. From a distance, a pack of Zegraki might seem to be a hunting or scouting party, but up close, these manhunters reveal their more fearsome appearance. So let's fast forward and get into the modern Icemarch as of today. Some say the avatar of Krisha actually makes her mortal home in the Icemarch and keeps the land frozen for her own comfort. Natural or not, the winters that envelop the Icemarch are more pervasive. Aside from the pine forest in the southern province, little vegetation grows in the land, and only burrowing and hunting creatures can survive. So, according to trappers, tales, and hunters' legends, one safe haven exists in the northeastern reaches of the Icemarch. They call it Timoshev, the famous ice tower, and say it was carved from the Klesberg, and its halls are heated by an unnatural magic that warms the air and inhabitants, but doesn't melt its icy walls. If Timoshev truly exists, it must be ruled by a powerful wizard or priest steeped in the magic of the elemental water school. It's unknown whether such, or what sort of subjects such a region might have, but there's no hint of the ice goblins of the frozen plains or the dreaded Zeraki. It's unknown what sort of subjects such a region might have. There's no hint that the ice goblins of the frozen plains or the dreaded Zeraki live in such magical splendor. Other sites. Moving from the legendary Tower of Ice, only a few notable sites exist within the Icemarch. The Klesberg itself, which is the largest glacial formation on Cerelia, covers the northern Drakenward, the northern Icemarch, and the tip of the Battle Fens. It does not seal up the inlet leading to the Knoll Fells, where the ice meets the ocean. The glacier has eroded into an arch that allows passage into this inlet by ships as large as a round ship. Despite mariners' legends, the glacier does not shift into the Leviathan's reach during wintertime. The ice flows of the northern seas have little to do with this magnificent mountain of ice and snow. Klesberg provides a home for many Arctic and subarctic creatures found nowhere else in Cerelia. Whole tribes of ice giants are said to live or carve their homes out of the base of the Klesberg, ranging southward during the winter months to plague the northern Voss, Brecht, and Rurik settlements. They keep polar bears and ice trolls in their lairs. Fun, right, for players to deal with too, and have been known to hunt as far south as Rovninodensk and Melanoye during particularly bitter winters. So yet another interesting thing for DMs to throw at players, even if they're not necessarily adventuring here yet, but just, maybe like an early encounter with like an actual ice giant raid or something will certainly put some fear into them. And just surviving it at lower levels would be, the goal there, of course. So, moving on, the ice plains, not unlike the frozen steppes of the Battle Fens, the ice plains of the Icemarch do harbor remoras, Skolzeki, and other burrowing ice creatures, but the most dangerous inhabitants definitely are the ice goblins and the once human Zigraki. Ice goblins resemble other goblins on Cerealia, but are nearly as large as Orogs and have gray-white ashen skin. The Zigraki appear to be barbaric hairy Voss, whose reversion to cannibalism makes them easily as fearsome as the ice goblins. Both races war with each other and themselves for the meager resources on the Icemarch. Neither can be bargained with, and intimidation only goes so far. To the ice goblins and Zigraki of the Icemarch, even the threat of death holds only so much terror because, well, that's basically their daily life. So, then the legendary Timoshev. So, those few who claim to have seen the ice tower and return to tell the tales can only agree that it lies somewhere northeast of Gravnikvek Forest, just out of sight of Leviathan's reach. None have gotten close enough for an accurate description, which makes many believe that the City of Ice is an enormous natural phenomenon. High, clear towers of ice jutting up from the Klesberg don't have to be do not have to be man or even magically made structures. Cynics say, and some would spend the energy, or who would spend the energy necessary to construct such a city anyway, right? It's all just rumors. Surely. Despite, or perhaps because of its detractors, the legend of Timoshev does still flourish in the lands like Drachenward, Hjorig, Velnoye, and Vrokninodensk. Dreams of high and clear towers created and maintained by benevolent magics pervade the thoughts of would-be explorers. Fanciful stories of a race of beautiful men and women living in warm comfort in the midst of their ever-winter land are likely to be spelled by an encounter with the known inhabitants of the Icemarch. But a fun, fertile tale nonetheless, and maybe that could lure players, certainly. So something like an El Dorado, but here in the far frozen north, right? And who knows what the inhabitants really could be. And could be something, too, where it maybe initially appears nice and peaceful and all that, but then maybe there's like a dark underside or dark secret to the actual inhabitants there as well. So, getting into what few NPCs there are, few Voss visit the Icemarch and none live there. To reach there, one must either brave the Leviathan's reach or somehow negotiate the Knoll Fells, Tuar Anwin, or the Battle Fens, right? Which all very dangerous areas. The Icemarch is truly an unexplored area where the only other likely visitors are unlucky mariners who lost their vessels along the northern coast. One such mariner, in fact, a Brecht Gilder named Catherine Wuntrauch, which a level 5 Gilder, small bloodline, sailed from Danagau a few years ago in an effort to explore and map the northern coast of Cerealia. According to her, her boat was attacked by the Leviathan, the actual Anche, near the northern coast of the Icemarch, and only a few of the mariners survived to swim to shore. There, freezing on the slopes of the Klesberg, they used the last of their supplies to start a signal fire and warm themselves. No rescue came, and within a few days they lost all hope. A few threw themselves into the freezing water of the Reach, rather than face a slower death from exposure. However, despite their ill fortune, Catherine and a few others resolved to penetrate inland across the glacier. They found the going easier than they expected and made some good time. As best Catherine could figure their progress, they covered nearly 8 miles each day, but to no avail. They found no safety, no wood to burn, no animals to hunt. Eventually, the surviving mariners laid themselves down to die. But they didn't die. Each drifted off to sleep, knowing they would never open their eyes again. To their surprise, however, each mariner later awoke, but not on the freezing slopes of the Klesberg, but in a room made of what Catherine called warm ice. Smooth and transparent as glass, the warm ice actually exuded heat and helped the mariners recover from their exposure. So, in that place, the mariners also found food, warm clothes, and dry wood. As night eventually drew itself about them, the mariners could see the stars through the transparent roof of their room. They experimented by lighting a small fire. Warmth filled the room, but the ice walls didn't melt. The fire cheered them, but did not reveal an exit from the room. It appeared to have no doors or windows, really. According to Catherine, all the mariners again fell asleep despite the careful organization of a watch order. Fighting off slumber, she managed to somehow keep her eyes open for a few extra moments after her companions began snoring. So this proved a turning point in her story. A moment later, as she was about to give in to sleep, a crack appeared in the ice wall of the room. In stepped a tall, thin man dressed in white and gold with a silver circlet about his forehead. He seemed impossibly beautiful to the Brecht Gilder, and she barely noticed the two similarly clothed servants who entered behind him. Servants placed food on a nearby ice table and drew cloaks up over some of the sleeping mariners while their lord, and Catherine could only perceive him as a lord, looked on. Fighting back intense drowsiness, she managed to sit up, surprising the lord, and began to speak. The next thing she knew was she was sitting alone at the edge of a wood, which turned out to be somewhere in northern Lutovsky. So, after much hardship and the loss of several fingers and toes to frostbite, Catherine made her way to one of Lutovsky's lumber camps where she slowly regained her health. Now she lives in Petroprovinsk, hoping to someday return to Birthright and perhaps find someone willing to discover exactly where she and her missing crew members spent that strange night. So, interesting stuff there. And then last but not least here, the awesome DM tips and secret section, which again provides fertile grounds for adventure hooks, things like that. Just always useful to entice players into some adventures and campaigns. So, dangerous mainly because of its continual winter climb, the Icemarch holds only a few insurmountable dangers for the experienced adventurer. Mid and high level heroes are probably up to the challenge of the Icemarch. Perhaps the DM's secrets that follow may entice those adventuring heroes then. The fabled Timoshev. Even among a practical barbaric people like the Voss, the lure of the undiscovered wonder has more than a little appeal. While no stories tell of vast treasures or magical artifacts hidden in the City of Ice, many Voss, Brecht, Grieric, and even elf heroes long to discover Timoshev and return to tell the tale. Stories arise from the lumber camps of Lutovsky, the mines of Melier, and the Varsk ranges of Rovninodensk and beyond. The legend of the Ice Tower grows with every telling, and many believe that nothing so strange and wonderful could exist without some precious secret to be won. And again, that could be fertile ground too for maybe encountering Catherine here at some point and seeing, if we can help her get back to the Brecht lands, maybe getting some information out of her, anything, and maybe having the price of that be that they, including her, try to return to that area, wherever that might be, and maybe that's where we do discover Timoshev or something else entirely, or something that leads us into other directions. Also, the Zagraki, while the Voss remain the most primitive and barbaric of Cerulean humans, even they have drawn lines beyond which they refuse to tread. The Zagraki, the manhunters of the Icemarch, crossed that line a long time ago. While Belanik demands blood sacrifice and Krisha's winter witches claim lives as often as they do followers, no Voss can stand for cannibalism as a way of life. Much like paladins of Anweir or Knassi, some Voss have taken the extermination of the Zagraki upon themselves as a sort of crusade. For the less well-meaning of these warriors, the manhunters serve a role as the most dangerous game of all. Primitive, desperate hunters with no fear of conscience, or conscience. A Voss can return home with a sack full of hairy, sloped-brow Zagraki heads. That person will win accolades with the warriors and the priests of his tribe, and could be sort of almost not necessarily an initiation ritual, but something if you're looking to move up in your clan or tribe here, that would certainly be an accomplishment. So something for players to consider if they are actually adventuring as Voss, and it's like a true Voss campaign in that sense, but could also be something for outsiders to maybe prove themselves to the Voss as maybe like honored members of the tribe, or honorary, we should say, or something to ingratiate themselves with the Voss and help out with that. So, a lot of interesting things here in the Icemarch, right? We got some fertile adventuring grounds, the lure of the unknown with Timoshev, and also just some interesting creatures, right? We got those Zagraki, the ice goblins, all kinds of other dangerous creatures. And again, fertile grounds here to also marry that with maybe being in and around the battle fens as well. So lots of, again, dangerous mid to high level adventuring here, and again, the fabled lure of the unknown as well. And really, again, the DM can paint has a pretty nice canvas to paint in as far as really what they want to do with that. So certainly no shortage of threats. And then also we have obviously the elf realm bordering there as well. So lots of unfriendly territory. Now we could also be elves and venturing there too. So again, a whole new different set of threats as well. But certainly something worthy of a good campaign. So let us know, guys, if you have adventured in and around the Icemarch. What parts have you included? How would it look? And what would you do with something like a fabled lost city? that the characters could encounter, and how would we handle that in a campaign here. So be sure to hit us up in the comments, like and subscribe. We'll have more soon. Also, if you guys want to see these videos early, be sure to join our Patreon. We got different levels of backing there. If you want to support us, we greatly appreciate the help with that. We're going to have some more exclusive content coming soon as well, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks so much for watching.